Who pays when Washington turns a budget fight into unpaid paychecks and soaring premiums? I'll unpack that tonight with Maya on community impact and Leo's procedural forensic lens, because this shutdown isn't abstract. It threatens paychecks, care, and travel, and the clock is already ticking. Tonight, we open with a blunt split screen, an official shutdown timeline, and a public brawl over blame. The government closed in the early hours of October 1st, 2025, after Senate votes failed on both short-term funding bills. Republicans pushed a House stopgap. Senate Democrats insisted any deal extend Affordable Care Act premium tax credits set to lapse at year's end. Neither side hit the 60-vote mark in an evenly divided chamber, and funding expired.
And the president's response? He bragged he could use a shutdown to do things that are irreversible. He threatened benefits and mass firings. That is not just reckless, it is cruelty marketed as policy.
Or it is leverage in a negotiation. The Republican line is simple. Democrats' far-left base said jump, and leadership said how high. You do not tack on permanent subsidies to keep the lights on for a few weeks.
Here are the facts. The GOP continuing resolution reportedly failed roughly 55 to 45. The Democratic stopgap also failed. A few senators crossed lines, but the coalitions never cleared 60. OMB ordered orderly shutdown plans. OMB Director Russell Vought warned agencies to prepare, even drafting contingencies for layoffs. Agencies pivoted overnight, accepted employees like TSA officers, many air traffic controllers, and active duty military must work without pay.
And let us be clear, this is a Trump shutdown. He canceled a meeting with Democrats. Then after a last-minute sit-down, he posted an AI fake to mock Chuck Schumer. That is governance by troll, not leadership.
Come on. The House sent over a clean bridge. Democrats demanded ACA sweeteners. Even Senator Shelley Moore Capito said her state's subsidies run through December the 31st. There is time to work on it without closing the government.
One note on timing. Open enrollment begins November 1st. That is why Democrats say clarity now matters. Republicans counter the benefit does not lapse until year's end. That scheduling dispute is driving a lot of this standoff.
It is not abstract timing. People will see premiums spike. Families will choose between insulin and rent. In a New Jersey town hall, a woman named Lucinda pleaded hold the line because she cannot afford coverage if credits vanish. Another caller, Barbara, said the pain is national. Democrats are fighting to prevent premiums from doubling and to shield millions from losing coverage. This is about survival, not a tax perk.
And polls. Media says blame Republicans. One recent survey had roughly 2 in 5 blaming the GOP, about 1 in 4 Democrats, and nearly 1 in 3 both. That tells me Americans see a shared failure here.
Let us map the immediate impacts. CBO and other estimates point to around 750,000 furloughs. Back pay is guaranteed by law once funding resumes, but cash flow dries up now for many families. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid payments should continue, but many related services are curtailed. The Small Business Administration paused federally backed loans, blocking roughly 320 loans and $170 million daily.
Small business feels it fast. That is why you do not jam policy riders into a stopgap. Keep the doors open, then debate subsidies in daylight. Also in past shutdowns, workers were not fired. Back pay came through. Panic helps no one.
Tell that to a TSA officer forced to work without a paycheck. Or an air traffic controller on the night shift. 13,000 controllers working unpaid is a safety and dignity issue, not a talking point.
Federal student aid warns it cannot tackle a backlog for more than 1 million borrowers seeking income-driven repayment, or tens of thousands awaiting public service forgiveness. The FTC site is closed to fraud reports. Data releases face delays.
Data delays spook markets? Sure. Speaking of markets, stocks wobbled, gold hit records. But the economy is not one headline. ADP looked soft. We need the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports, which might now be late. That is the real cost of brinkmanship.
And the human cost? WIC and SNAP can strain if this drags on. Veteran services may be pared back. National parks could be open, closed, or unstaffed with garbage piling up. People are not props for a White House power play.
There are conflicting details. Some outlets call it a partial shutdown, others full. Museums and parks, reports vary. The Smithsonian might stay open briefly. Former park superintendents urge closures to protect visitors and resources.
On blame, let me be plain. Democrats could have supported a short, clean bill. Senator Capito said negotiate ACA support without a shutdown. Instead, leadership took a gamble to extract a concession while the clock ran out.
Clean? Not when the administration uses rescissions to claw back what was just agreed to by a simple majority after the fact. That is a backdoor. We need any deal locked with no tricks, no games, no rescission loopholes.
Rescissions are a lawful budget tool. If you want permanent health policy, earn bipartisan votes on a standalone bill. Do not hold salaries and small business loans hostage to cement a pandemic-era subsidy forever.
Quick primer. 60 votes to beat a filibuster on funding, but some rescissions can pass at a lower threshold. That is why trust is so fragile. One side fears bait and switch. The other fears a moving goalpost inside a stopgap.
Trust? The president mused about cutting benefits during the lapse. He has fired civil servants and dangled mass firings now. Even if courts stop it, the chilling effect is the point. Federal workers feel expendable in his hands.
Hold on. Past shutdowns did not fire people. An ABC reporter noted firings would face legal muster. We should condemn reckless talk, yes, but also avoid scaring seniors about checks that are still going out. Precision matters.
Precision does matter. Benefit payments should continue, but services tied to those programs may be curtailed. The practical friction, lost pay, delayed paperwork, stalled loans, creates compounding harm even when core checks arrive.
Compounding harm is the point I keep coming back to. Millions are bracing for premium shocks. Some estimates say millions could lose coverage if support lapses. We cannot tell families to wait and see until December 31st.
Estimates vary wildly. That is why we legislate, not litigate by press conference. Negotiate a bridge, reopen, then vote on ACA support and community health centers. Stop pretending a shutdown is a pressure cooker that only hurts the other side.
Beyond the shutdown, other federal actions trod on. CMS finalized a rule for Medicare Advantage directories for the 2027 enrollment cycle. The administration is phasing out most paper federal checks by September 30th, with exceptions.
And while the lights flicker, the White House and HUD plaster partisan banners blaming the radical left. Hatch Act concerns are not academic. The government's own sites became campaign billboards. That corrodes public trust.
Both sides punch. Democrats posted their own blame clock. The country sees the game. Meanwhile, a $50 billion rural health grant window is at risk. States may miss deadlines. That is where focus should be. Actual opportunity cost.
Travel strain is another. DOT says more than 13,000 controllers and most TSA officers work without pay. Prior lapses saw callouts and delays. The industry warns heavy weekly losses if this persists into peak travel weeks.
And for federal families, there is no cushion. Mortgages, rent, medicine, all due now. Members of Congress still get paid while workers keep the airports running for free. Some lawmakers are refusing pay in solidarity, as they should.
Solidarity is good. Solutions are better. Open the government with a short, clean bridge. Add a side agreement to debate ACA support on a fixed date. Stop bundling it into a must-pass bill amid a countdown clock every few weeks.
Recap 1. Funding lapsed after both Senate stopgaps failed. Agencies activated contingency plans. Benefits largely continue. Services and pay do not. The central policy fight is whether to extend ACA premium support inside a short-term bill.
And the central trust fight is over rescissions. As Chris Hayes explained, you can pass a bipartisan bill, then claw back by a lower vote later. That is not honorable dealing. Lock the agreement or do not call it a deal.
We could also say Democrats do not trust themselves to win a straight-up vote. If ACA support is popular, schedule it and pass it. Do not freeze paychecks to immunize a policy from future debate. That is not how separation of powers works.
Separation of powers is not a license to weaponize chaos. When the president toys with using troops in cities or threatens to purge civil servants, it is part of an authoritarian pattern. We cannot normalize that by calling it leverage.
We should reject overheated talk on all sides. Keep enforcement within the law. Keep Congress within the law. And keep this debate about policy and budgets, not doom loops about secret police. People need checks, not theater.
On culture and access, the Capitol Visitor Center, the Library of Congress, and some Smithsonian operations face closures or reduced staffing. Exact timing is muddled by conflicting guidance. Visitors should expect disruptions and watch for updates.
Meanwhile, the administration yanked some nominations, even at BLS, while data releases may go dark. That is a double hit. Fewer watchdogs, less data. It is harder to govern and to hold anyone accountable in the fog.
Fog cuts both ways. If you believe in oversight, reopen, then confirm. If you believe in growth, stop halting SBA loans over side issues. The Ford CEO called this shutdown bad for the economy. I agree. End it, then argue policy.
Outside Washington, the travel sector and small firms brace. Think tanks split on duration. Some expect a quick end under pressure, others warn this one has unique risks, including talk of making some furloughs permanent. That raises the stakes.
Permanent furloughs are just cuts by another name. And the rush to phase out paper checks by September 30th, even with exceptions, risks leaving unbanked folks behind. Change management matters. You do not do it in a shutdown fog.
The agencies promised exceptions and outreach. Modernization should not pause every time we hit a funding pothole. What should pause is the habit of stuffing non-emergency riders into emergency bills. That is how we got here.
Let us surface the evidence gaps. Can the administration legally cut benefits during a lapse? Experts say core payments continue, and mass firings would likely be challenged. Which exact senators crossed over? Reports differ slightly. Is this a partial or full shutdown? Coverage uses both terms. On museums and parks, messaging is inconsistent. When facts conflict, we will flag it rather than pretend certainty. That is our commitment to you.
And my commitment is to the people who called that town hall, those living on the edge. We can end this tonight if Republicans accept a simple truth. Healthcare is not a bargaining chip. Enshrine the credits. Keep families covered.
My commitment is to the rulebook. Pass a time-limited bridge with no extras. Set a date certain to vote on ACA support. Put it on the floor in the open. Stop playing chicken with paychecks and airports. That is the adult deal.
Recap 2, then we pivot forward. The shutdown began after failed Senate votes. Agencies executed contingency plans. The ACA subsidy fight sits at the core. Trust is low due to rescissions. And the harms are real even as checks continue.
One more thing, workers, TSA, controllers, NOAA forecasters, DOJ staff, they show up without pay. Meanwhile, some House members were told to go home. If you are drawing a salary, get in the room and make this right tonight.
Agreed on urgency, but make it right by reopening first. The longer this grinds, the worse WIC and SNAP strain, the more small firms miss payroll, the more data we fly blind on. Governing means sequencing, not grandstanding.
Final thought from the Hill. Both sides say they are willing to talk. The question is whether those ACA supports are in the short-term deal or in a later bill. Senate arithmetic, White House tactics, and public pressure will decide the arc.
And public pressure is real. People see rents due, premiums looming, and leadership blaming. Do not blink on healthcare. Do not accept backdoors. Do not let fear of polls override fear of a family losing chemo coverage midstream.
Do not blink on process either. If you burn the rulebook to save a program, you will regret the precedent. Fix the funding, then legislate the policy. That path exists. Take it and stop the clock.
On our next episode, we will track any new vote counts, watch whether museums and parks stay open, and verify claims about benefits, layoffs, and flight delays as they evolve. Until then, take care of one another and stay tuned.